Hello, welcome everyone to this new episode of iPad Only Show. And we are the iPad Only book co-authors,
Augusto Pinaud, and
Michael Sliwinski. Augusto, I heard that iPad is doomed.
let me remind you that in 2007, the iPad was going to be a flop because it was just a big iPad.
Yeah,
So I laugh, and we are referring. This has been an interesting week because there have been a lot of people talking about iPad and screen size and many other things related because of the Apple earning quarter. So there is an article on Medium, and the link of the article is going to be on the comment here.
Yeah, it's in our blog as well. Mm-hmm.
And it was quite interesting because it brings in words something that has frustrated me for many, many years, and is the analysts. You could see Apple. They basically what happened in Apple was they came short to what the analysts were expecting the sales numbers were going to be for iPad.
Yes.
And because of that, they call the performance of the company disappointment. The interesting thing is that if you are able to take only iPad sales out of the Apple Corporation, out of the books, those sales per se will be bigger than many of the Fortune 500 companies.
Most of them, actually.
Most of them.
Yes. iPad, as such, is one of the biggest Fortune 500 companies, if it was just an iPad.
And it's interesting for me how 19 million sales, okay, it was disappointing. It is that bring to the point how ridiculous these analysts are. Okay, I understand, as the article and MJ Sigler mentioned, it is the problem of the iPad, and we agree, is that it changed everything way too fast.
Exactly.
But it was the same problem with the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when the iPhone came, you show the screen of the iPhone and people look at you like, there is no keyboard, there is no buttons, there is no.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And now the only company who really tried to stick to their keywords was BlackBerry.
Right.
Okay. And BlackBerry really tried hard not to kill the keyboard, to end up now, many years later, after Apple, after Android, after Windows has solved all their quirks with the typing on the screen, now trying to figure it out, that was generating that the phones of the company are awful and nobody wants to play with them. Okay. Why? Well, because they are so behind technology-wise. And the iPad came, and in 4 little years, has done so much change, so much evolution, that the only thing we can say is, oh, well, it's disappointed because they sold less than what we expect.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that the iPad, because when iPhone launched, it launched very slowly and nobody really wanted it because of the keyboard and stuff. So people really didn't believe it could sell so well. When the iPad launched, everything was prepared. The iOS was there, apps or whatever. So what happened was that suddenly with the iPad, it just skyrocketed, just right there.
Yeah, it went an incredible speed. And I understand it is still something new, because even the technology pace have increased significantly. 4 years, it's not much.
Right.
The 4 years went from something nobody knew that could exist, nobody knew
they wanted
it could be so cool, okay, to the main machine for many people, okay, to the unique machine for many other. I mean, because really there is more and more people looking for ways to ditch every other computer and just keep the iPad. And it's not only us, it's many people. I mean, the numbers they were saying was something like 210 million units in 4 years.
Yeah, so really a big disappointment and really a big thing. But the cool thing about this thing is that first time after Apple's revenue quote and financial results, Analysts said it was rubbish. It was really bad. Apple didn't deliver, whatever. And then the market was really disappointed. And it's seriously, oh, it's so bad to gain more than 10% in one day. It's really a bad situation. I'm surprised, actually, because Apple always losing after the financial results. And then when they didn't deliver the iPad, everybody thought it was such demise that everybody voted with their wallets. It must be a demise because everybody's buying Apple stock. So,
yeah, it is. Well, it is showing that in some way, some of these analysts are, I don't know if they're losing their touch or people is people in the market and other people in the market is looking like, okay,
yeah,
obviously this is a company that need to be analyzed in a different way. Because I think that's one of the big problems with Apple. Apple doesn't do things in the way many other companies do. I If you see Samsung, for example, Samsung will release 17 million products and see which one are the good ones and then kill the rest. And it's fine. That's a strategy. Apple instead will release a product on, if they think they can develop 14 features, they will release a product with 10. So they can perfect those four for the next generation.
exactly.
And they go every year with something new that is small enough to seem subtle, but at the same time massive enough to be worth it. As we talked in one of the previous shows, I just upgraded my iPad and went from the mini to the mini with Retina. And I asked before I bought it, I asked, you were one of the people I asked about the processor. Okay. And I understand. And you told me the processor is good, but I don't see much of a difference. And probably if you go from the iPad 4 to the iPad 5, that's true. When you go from the iPad mini to the mini with Retina, the difference is massive. It's massive. It's incredible how much speed, performance, everything. And that's exactly what Apple do. Apple improved the product that seems like it is not really significant until you get the product in your hands. I remember when the iPad Air came in the market. Okay? If you see the technical specs, yeah, there was an improvement, but didn't seem that the improvements were that massive until you play with the machine. And then you discover how massive they were. And it was exactly the same thing I experiment with this. And I think it is the same thing the company is experimenting with these sales.
Exactly.
Seem like, oh, we just did a little bit. Well, we just did a little bit, but the reality is the iPad was a little machine who had 4 years in the market, is really months away to conquer the PC market. Exactly. And that is incredible.
Exactly. So I wanted to quote, because I'm a big fan of Accidental Podcast, Accidental Technical Podcast, Accidental Tech Podcast, but with Marco Arment, Kay Shillis, and John Siracusa. And I had to stop the podcast for the first time. I just couldn't stand Marco Arment saying that the future of computing is a netbook. he was trying, because but this shows how also geeks don't understand the iPad. That many geeks, and that's why the tech journalists also don't understand the iPad, because they're used to computers. And of course, geeks like Marco Arment, who are mainly programmers and have the programming environment on their laptop, they don't understand the iPad because they feel great on the iPad and on the MacBook. And they feel great on the MacBook because they feel great with the file system and all this nuts and bolts and stuff. But in the show, which I really liked, John and Casey, the other hosts, were trying to explain to Marco, seriously, if I have to choose between taking on vacation an iPad and a MacBook, I take the iPad, because on vacation it just feels nicer to use. The interface is nicer to interact with, and that's the key benefit of the iPad. The iOS is just nicer, and that's why folks like us try to move to work completely on the iPad, because it's just nicer to work in, right? So it's the thing that still lots of people don't understand the iPad. That's why we get these stupid stories about the iPad.
But I think people as you said, and we said this in the book, people is used to a workflow that they have been using for many, many, many years and have not stopped for a second to see how the iPad can improve that
Right.
workflow. And it is because of that that they get stuck, you know. And there was an article the last week or so, okay, from Matt Jamel talking about screen size, okay, and talking about why, with all these rumors about the 12-inch Retina display, MacBook Air, blah blah blah, and why he already had the perfect machine, a MacBook Air 11-inch, and he said, "Could I work in that 29 MacBook in my desk? Of course I can. Could I work better? Probably not. Why? Because my workflows now have work on a full screen, on a full 11-inch screen, not on a. So what happened is when I go to this massive screen, then I start putting things that will distract me. One of the things I really love about the iPad is I work on this full size. That's it.
Exactly.
There is nothing else. There is no things popping up, coming in, distracting me. This is the whole space I have for work. And this is the whole space for text. And this is the whole space for PowerPoint or for Keynote. And this is the whole space for browsing and for reading. But everything is here. Could I do that on the 15-inch MacBook Pro? Yes. Could I do that in a 21-inch MacBook desktop? Of course I can. But the reality is, the bigger my screen goes, the more distractions I put on the screen. It's
Right.
not that I'm more effective, it's distraction. So, and that's one of the things that the iPad brings to many people, is that ability to remove the distractions away and bring the focus in.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons you and I worked so much in the iPad at the beginning was that we work on our workflows. Yes, we work. But one of the things you discover, as well as I discover, as well as many of these 210 million units people have discovered, is you remove the distraction, And as soon as you start removing the distraction, then you don't need 17 hours of work.
Mm-hmm.
You maybe need 9,
Mm-hmm.
and that make a massive difference.
Yes, totally. So actually, the thing. We really, you may be, you may have to bend over backwards to work on the iPad in the beginning, because you have to totally rethink how you work. But once you have it like that, it's just amazing. I mean, just the other day, for example, I was, my mom asked me to send her something, and we were out and about somewhere, in I don't know where I mean, anyway, in the city. They said me, Michael, if you could remember about sending me this thing to my email, because I really need it. I pulled out my iPhone, opened the Evernote app, found the note, sent share, email, okay, done. Because in my workflow, when I work on my iPad, I put stuff into Evernote. And most of my documents are in Evernote, so I can access them through the iPhone as well. So, I mean, just think about it. Before that, I would have it in my file system on my Mac, not even with Dropbox, I'm sure. Then I would have to remember about this, to go to my Mac and then attach this to the file. I mean, it's just totally different thing.
I think I told the story in our book, and I told the story, I think, in a previous episode, and I will tell the story again. April 15 is tax day here in the United States.
Exactly.
And this year, again, it was a breathe, because every time I get an invoice that is business related, doesn't matter if I get it in paper, I take a picture, goes to Evernote. If I get an email, gets forwarded to Evernote. And I don't keep anything. Before, I used to log that file to the accountant, so they do tax now. Came tax time, and as soon as I take picture of everything, forward the whole, or give her access to the notebook. In this case, I forward all the documents that are there, and she sort them, print them, blah, blah, blah. And then when I get there, everything is beautiful for me to check and sign. And it saved me so much time. In the past, if I get it to email, then I needed to print it, to put it in a file. Then when tax come, bring all the file, make sure everything was there. Now it's a process that is so quick and so automated that everything is there, no problem.
Let me just, because for the readers, yes, if you're on a Mac, you can do the same. You can scan everything to Evernote with your scanner, desktop scanner and stuff. You can have everything into Evernote and Dropbox. But the thing is that you're not forced to make this plunge, to change the habits, to change your workflows, because you have the Mac and you can do anything you want. But in the moment you use iPad and iPhone, suddenly you have to change these things because of that. And suddenly, then you get the benefits. Right now, when I'm on my Mac, I also get these benefits. If I need something, I just go to my Evernote app on my Mac and I find the thing that I need. So I get the same benefits. But I wouldn't change the whole thing, how I produce documents and produce notes and produce files and produce tasks, if I didn't have the iPad, if it didn't force me to change my workflows. And it didn't force me to use this delightful machine every day.
Yeah, and again, if you don't have fun at your job often, then you have a dreadful one.
Exactly. So it's really good to have the machine that you love and work on the machine that you love.
Mm-hmm. So, in conclusion, the iPad is doomed, right?
Yeah, it's totally doomed. I mean, seriously. Yeah, it's totally doomed. So on this bombshell, let's end this episode. Thank you very much. And if you feel free to post comments of the doomsday of the iPad below this video. Thank you.
Thank you.